work in a really cool place, and I work with kids, little kids, starting off at 5 years old. Well, that's the oldest, but the youngest can be 5 months old, so I can work with little babies all the way up until 8 years old here. And I help with kids who are not speaking. So, in order to help kids speak or understand information or communicate with anybody, sometimes they need help. So for some kids who aren't talking, they just need a little bit extra help. And that's what I do. I really try to go in and help kids communicate. So whether they have to communicate by speaking, if they need to communicate by typing in a message, whatever it is to help them communicate with other people. And in order to do that, it has to be fun. Because I work with kids, it has to be fun. So I try to make sure whatever I'm doing, it is fun. So in addition to helping kids speak and understand, I also help kids with feeding. So believe it or not, some kids have a lot of trouble eating. Some babies have a lot of trouble eating. And we know in order to eat, that's how you grow. So I help kids not only be able to communicate, but also help them grow by helping them eat better. Oh, I thought someone raised their hand. Yes. So that is some of the main things that I do. But again, because I work with kids, I have to make it really cool. Another cool thing, I don't know if you guys can see this right here. It's a tunnel. And in order to even come in this room, you have to go through a tunnel. And then I'll show you up here, we have a zip line. And so some kids will come in and they're swinging in until they get into this room, and they'll land on these knots right here. And they'll crash there. And yeah, so in order for kids to communicate, my goal is to make it fun, make them want to talk. Any questions? A cleaner coming, so we put up a lot of things, but here I'll show you. I'll start off in here. So this is, so I don't want to make you dizzy, guys. So this is our rock climbing wall. So some people use this. We have slime. And again, we work with babies, so sometimes we'll have baby chairs for kids. You can even see the little bikes. Can you guys see that? I'll show you. Those are the bikes and things that kids play with. And then over here we have a swing in the middle of the room. Can you all see the swing? Yeah, okay. So something cool. It's not for everyone, but it's like a little kid. You see that? Yeah, so it's super tiny for the little babies if they need to work out too. And we have a lot of kitchen sets. So here's a kitchen set. And one of the things I do here is we pretend to make food, and that's how I get them talking. So I'll ask them, like, do you want pizza or do you want ice cream, whatever it is, and we try to make it. And so with speech therapy, I have to do a lot of things to get them to talk or communicate and also understand. I want to go there. See your message. Yes. Okay. Do we have any more questions? Yeah, I really want to make sure I'm answering you all's questions. Yes, I'm listening. Great questions. So what I am as a therapist, so I wouldn't say a teacher, but a therapist. There are a lot of us here. So I share this space with other people. And I even have smaller rooms. So we have smaller rooms too, that we can go in for kids who don't need the big space. And so I'm a speech therapist, but the other people here are occupational therapists. And they're the ones who use a lot more of the swings, and they help children with things like attention or calming down, or kids who have trouble playing in different ways and textures. That's occupational therapist. So you can have speech therapist, occupational therapist, and physical therapist. So that's who we share with. Yes. Other thing, that's mainly for our occupational therapists here. And so they use that for kids when they're helping them with coordination. So again, a lot of the kids that I do see, they need a lot of help. So their bodies might not allow them to be able to climb and play on a playground. So we use those things to help them, teach them here. I won't answer it directly, but I will say I am able to buy what I want to buy. I'm able to live where I want to live and do what I want to do. So I don't have to worry about money if that's what you're asking. Yes, I had to go to school for a really long time. So just like all of you all, you're going to high school, and then I went to college for 4 years, and then I graduated college, and then I had to go back to school for another 2 years. So you guys have questions. Yes. So the one thing that I would say that makes kids not talk, well, there's two things. Sometimes children they're late talkers. So that means that they just are waiting to talk. We don't know why, but they might need a little bit of help. Another big thing, I'm not sure if you guys have heard the word of autism. Has anyone heard that before? Okay, so a lot of children who have autism, a lot of times will have trouble communicating. And that's also speaking and following directions. So we go in and we try to find ways for them to talk. Sometimes they even have computers, and it's almost like a tablet, really, to teach them how to talk to other people. You guys might have seen it on TV, but it's a real thing, and it's something that we do here too. None of the kids sleep here, So they come here, and they have an appointment with me. So my appointments are about 30 minutes. So remember, they're still really little, so they can't really go for a really long time. And then after that time, they go back home with their parents, and then they come back another time. So they can only come when they have appointments, but no one sleeps here, not even me. I go home too. For our children who have trouble feeding, we're helping them eat because they don't eat. Or some children, they will only eat the same thing. So I'm trying to help them eat other foods, that way they can be strong, right? And we have a whole area where they can go, and we work on eating different foods. Kids get really scared, especially the little kids. And so that's why we start off in a smaller room sometimes. Sometimes kids can't come to the big room. Let me see if I can show you guys. Um, okay, so yeah, this is one of our smaller rooms for the little ones. And yes, they get really scared. So sometimes we'll start in this room before we take them to that big room, the swings and the slides and the ladders or the rock climbing, because it can be too much for them. And they're already nervous, and they're already having trouble telling you what they want because they're not talking. So yeah, sometimes they're really nervous. And when that happens, I just ask the parents, can you come back with me? And the mom or dad will help them until they feel comfortable enough. I don't have to bring them here if they're not comfortable yet. A good question too. So before I started working with little babies 2 years ago, I worked with adults and people who were really old, people up to 90 years old. So I worked in a hospital with people who would have strokes. Have you guys heard of strokes? I worked with people who had strokes and they needed a lot of help speaking after they had a stroke or eating after they had a stroke. So I worked with adults, and then I realized I really missed working with kids. So I came back, and now I work here. People will say speech therapist because it's shorter, but it's actually a speech language pathologist. A really long name. Okay, so I would say let me clarify. So people can work with older people, you can work with kids, you can work in schools, you can work in hospitals, you can work in a private clinic. That's what I do. I work privately. So people have to come see me and they go back home. And so you can work at all these places. Even your school has a speech therapist. So in short, what I do, I would say, since I'm here, that I help children communicate by speaking and understanding, and also exploring different foods so that way they can live a healthy lifestyle. Reasons why I love speech therapy so much, and although I was in school for such a long time, you get to do so much. So again, I worked in a hospital for a little bit, and then I didn't want to do that anymore. So then I came and I worked with little babies. And then after this, if I want to do something else, I can do that too. But again, in schools, hospitals, clinics, some therapists who also work with kids, we go to people's homes and we do therapy in their home. So there's no limit on what you can do. And I even see kids on the computer like we're doing now. Like you guys have school on the computer. I see children over the computer. Little babies, I would teach sign language too. But I don't teach them a lot of sign language. One of the things I typically do is sign for more. So if they want something, instead of crying, I'll just say more, and we'll start off there until their words start. So when the pandemic happened, it was a lot like you all. I had to start seeing all of my clients on the computer. Yeah, so that was hard because, again, I still work with communication, and I wasn't able to play with them like I usually did, but we were able to do it. But it was the same as you all. You guys have heard of stuttering, right? You guys might know somebody who stutters, or I also work with stuttering too. Help people stutter less.
Okay.
An awesome question. I would say on a scale from, that scale is huge, 1 to 100, I would say 99, only because some days I get really tired because, again, I work with little kids and they're so busy. Sometimes they run through the clinic full speed and I have to chase after them. I have to pick up all the toys. So that's the only reason I would say right now a 99. Take care.